Well, hello there, and welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today, because honestly, we are diving into a complete psychological goldmine. We're going to take a structured, deep dive look into the viral appeal of internet revenge stories. You know the exact ones I'm talking about. Those epic, sweeping sagas of ordinary people getting pushed way past their breaking point, only to orchestrate the most satisfying, devastating comebacks imaginable. So let's dive right into this and unpack exactly how these stories actually work.
So what makes the perfect revenge story so completely irresistible? We've all done it, right? Spent way too much time scrolling through these sagas, reading about terrible in-laws and cheating partners, finally getting exactly what they deserve. But why are we also universally hooked? Well, it's the psychological payoff. It's that deep human craving for poetic justice. We desperately want to see a universe where karma isn't just some abstract concept, but a highly orchestrated event delivered right on a silver platter. Now, to really grasp what triggers this, you just have to hear the sheer audacity of the villains involved. Listen to this. I would have attended the wedding if Amy wasn't the bride. That is an actual, unironic statement made by a jealous sister-in-law who, along with the mother-in-law, literally skipped their own son and brother's wedding just to be petty. It's completely shocking, right? But it's this exact level of sheer absurdity that sets the stage for the vengeance arcs we're about to analyze. Today, we aren't just casually reading dramatic stories for fun. We are deconstructing their architecture. We're going to extract the core DNA from real-life cases of ultimate payback. And what we've found by synthesizing the data is that every single one of these viral narratives follows a strict, universal 5-phase structure. Let's see exactly how this builds, starting with the very first phase.
Phase 1. The perfect setup. Every revenge saga begins with this fragile illusion of absolute peace before the protagonist is unexpectedly pushed right off the cliff.
So who's actually doing the pushing? Across all our case studies, we found 3 distinct profiles of toxic antagonists. First up, you have the jealous in-law. We see this in the cases of Amy and Kathy, where mothers and sisters-in-law are just deeply threatened by a new, successful woman entering the family dynamic. Second is the entitled partner, as seen with Sophia and Lisa. These are partners who become emotionally abusive or completely neglectful during incredibly vulnerable times, like pregnancy. And third, we have the manipulative enabler. We see this in Megan's story where her mother-in-law harbors a toxic childhood friend, or Leela's unbelievable story where a husband actually has an affair with his wife's own mother.
Which brings us right into phase 2, when the mask slips. This is all about escalating toxicity, where the antagonists get comfortable and their behavior just rapidly spirals out of control.
And let me tell you, these escalations are almost unbelievable. We have Amy's in-laws secretly hiding a stinging caterpillar in her shoe, literally sending her to the dermatologist. We have Megan's antagonist, Catherine, brazenly wearing a pure white dress to Megan's wedding and demanding to sit at the immediate family table. And then we have Lisa's husband, who watched his pregnant wife suffer through debilitating morning sickness, only to coldly inform her that pregnancy isn't an illness. The absolute audacity is staggering, isn't it?
But here is where the dramatic irony really peaks. These antagonists always exhibit staggering hypocrisy. Just look at Kathy's case. Her mother-in-law spent years calling her an unemployed parasite and a good-for-nothing shut-in. But what was the actual reality? Kathy was a highly successful independent investor who literally owned the luxury high-rise condo they were sitting in. And what happens when the mother-in-law suddenly goes broke? She shows up at Kathy's door begging to live in that very same condo. That massive entitlement is a key ingredient in their eventual downfall.
This naturally leads to phase 3, the breaking point, crossing the threshold. You know, you can only push a reasonable person so far before they transform into a calculated mastermind.
Often, hitting this breaking point involves uncovering a massive, undeniable secret. 5. That is the number of men that Catherine, the woman desperately trying to steal Megan's husband, was secretly dating at the exact same time. She was out there portraying herself as this pure, innocent childhood friend who belonged with the groom, all while juggling an entire soccer team of boyfriends behind the scenes, including married men. Discovering this level of unforgivable deception completely validates our protagonists shifting straight onto the offensive.
And just listen to the delusion they are dealing with here. Catherine literally said to the mother-in-law, "If I become Bobby's wife, I'll really be your daughter." They were actively plotting to kidnap the bride on her honeymoon day just to swap in the childhood friend. When you are up against this level of malicious, coordinated delusion, you don't just get mad, you get organized.
This ushers in Phase 4, setting the trap, calculated destruction. Our protagonist stops crying and starts using the antagonist's own immense hubris against them.
So here is the cold, calculated blueprint of revenge. Step 1. Gather evidence quietly. Think of Leela secretly recording her husband and mother in the act, or Sophia realizing her verbally abusive partner could be legally recorded. Step 2. Lure them into a public setting where they literally cannot hide. And Step 3. Drop the financial or legal hammer. You don't just yell at them, you dismantle their infrastructure. You let them dig their own grave, and then, well, you simply hand them the shovel. Let's look at what might be the ultimate case study for this perfect execution: Sophia's master plan. Sophia was dumped by her verbally abusive fiancé Tom, who left her for, get this, her own much younger sister Lucy. Now, instead of causing a scene, Sophia waited. She endured the insults. She found recordings of Tom calling her an ugly old hag, mixed with his manipulative apologies. Then, she actually attended Tom and Lucy's wedding. Thanks to her brother running the sound system, Sophia walked into the bridal waiting room wearing a hidden hot mic. She got them to insult her one last time on tape, played the audio of Tom's previous abuse right to their faces, and broadcast the entire unhinged confrontation to every single guest sitting out in the wedding venue.
Boom! And that transitions us beautifully into Phase 5, Ultimate Poetic Justice, the self-inflicted fall.
The trap is sprung, the trapdoors open, and we finally arrive at the absolute disproportionate downfall of the antagonists. Consider this brilliant mic drop quote from Sophia right before she sprung her trap. "Are you happy now that you've switched to my sister?" It seems like a concession, right? Almost like she's giving up. But it was actually the perfect bait that made Tom brag loudly about his terrible behavior, triggering the final collapse of their carefully constructed lies in front of an entire room of their family, friends, and coworkers.
The karmic retribution here is just incredibly satisfying. Let's look at the brutal aftermath. Amy's abusive in-laws went bankrupt and lost their mansion. Her arrogant brother-in-law ended up working at a convenience store. Sophia's ex-fiancé got demoted at work and immediately divorced by the sister. Leela's cheating husband and mother got zero inheritance, completely blew their cash and vanished into debt. Kathy's greedy in-laws were evicted and forced to work part-time jobs. The reality they faced was entirely opposite to the unearned luxury they just assumed they were entitled to.
Which brings us to our final thought. In the end, is the best revenge a brilliant trap or simply living happily ever after? Every single one of our protagonists, Amy, Kathy, Sophia, Lisa, Megan, Leela, they all ended up thriving. They moved on, surrounded by people who genuinely love them, completely free from all that toxic dead weight. The trap was really just the cleanup operation. The real vengeance? Well, that was their unrelenting happiness. So what do you think? I really hope this explainer gave you a fascinating look into the psychology of a vengeance arc. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.